tell students this all the time. I'll be 70 years old in November, and I've been teaching over 42 years. And out of my 40-something plus years of teaching, this has been one of the best exhibitions, student exhibitions I've put together.
My name is I'm here with Diggin In The Crates podcast, and today we're going to be interviewing some senior students from the African American Atelier art department. Here we have a senior, and you're right next to it. If you could just give me your name, your major, and how you got into art, and why you chose your major here at AT.
My name is Quentin Evans. I'm multimedia design student, so I work in traditional and digital formats. I got into art because I actually got rejected from the engineering department, and then I decided to give the coursework a try. Getting into it and meeting my professors and what really kept me around and really had me focus on developing my skills in the art department.
Would you say A&T's art department, the professors, the environment was really helpful to you to like develop your skills?
Being professors in the environment were extremely helpful. My classmates have inspired me and kept me going through a lot of nights that I really didn't want to stay up or work too long.
Yeah.
And my teachers drove a lot of lessons home with me. They really helped me stay focused and learn what to do and how to handle things.
Speaking of staying up late doing art projects, I know a lot of artists listen to music as they progress through the artwork. Do you listen to anything when you're doing this? What do you listen to when you draw or like make your art pieces?
So during the creation of this piece, I was actually listening to Mac Miller's Divine Feminine, that album, and it kind of kept me going, thinking about how time is conceived and how we portray the events through it. A few of my other pieces, the African style piece that I was listening to a lot of island style music. I listened to Burner and Burna a lot. While I was doing the space pieces, I was listening to a bit of EDM. So depending on what I was working on, my mood would change and what I listened to would fluctuate.
I'm Paige Henderson. I'm here with Diggin In The Crates, and I want to talk to you about your art piece. Can you start off by telling me your name and what you consider your style of art?
My name is Tiani Whitaker, and I consider my style of art abstract.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about abstract art?
So for me, abstract art isn't always non-objective. A lot of times it has to do with my mental health or, mental health that I may see in my community at the moment or at the time, and that's what I do my work based off of.
How long did it take you to complete this piece of artwork?
This piece of artwork probably took between 3 to 5 hours.
Okay. Can you explain the meaning behind your artwork?
So this piece behind us is called Radiation, and so for this piece I actually used fluorescent paint, and I think it symbolizes a sense of confidence.
Oh, well, my name is Devin Beasley. I'm a visual arts and design student, and I got into artistry when I was really young. A lot of my family members were also artistic, but they didn't really do much with it other than draw. So typically with my work, I really am drawn towards surrealism and the idea of taking people and displacing them or even contorting their bodies and removing certain pieces of their bodies is something that interests me. And I also just love picking color palettes that bring me back to my childhood. Okay. Because my childhood is something that I like to revisit for more mental health reasons and kind of analyze them. And what brought me to this piece was trying to deconstruct how I feel about my insecurities and explain that. I often struggle with speaking about things, and art is one of those things
Michaela Osborne. And we're going to talk about her artwork here today. You already told me your name. Can you tell me, like, what's your style of art?
So I've been dabbling in different styles of art.
What's your favorite?
I would say my favorite style of art is like the Afro-Cobra series. Lots of color, lots of pops of color. Working on this piece in January of this year, and I finished about 2-3 weeks ago. So from January to the middle of April, it took me that long to finish. Actually, all 3 of my paintings.
Okay. And these are all 3 yours right here,
Yes,
right?
these are all 3 of mine.
And can you explain the meaning behind this specific piece of work of art?
So this piece of work is basically general self-expression. This was how I was feeling at the time. I was overwhelmed with graduating, applying for graduate school, and different personal things that were going on in my life. So,
What things inspire your artwork?
I would say emotion drives my artwork. I tend to do my best things in an emotional state of mind. So I would say emotion, and then I would say through communicating with different people I get ideas on conversations and relationships.
Yes, my name is Ahmad Mendenhall. I am a senior visual arts and design student at A&T.
All right. And what gravitated you towards the art major?
So I've always been kind of like an artsy kid. Like I like to sketch in my notebooks. I like to sketch in textbooks even sometimes when I wasn't supposed to. Just doing different things, and I always thought it would just be like a pastime. And then I realized I could make something out of this. I could do something in my life. I could change other people's lives with this if I put enough work behind it. And that was my inspiration going into the major.
How has A&T's art department specifically helped you grow in your art?
I think specifically hearing from strong Black voices, that's been like the biggest part that's helped me, because like my artwork at first was just very, I was trying to get a lay of the land, figure things out for myself, figure out what my style was, but then I started hearing more about like the messages that I could, really put across in my work, and I thought it was very important to put those in my work, because that's the type of things I would have liked to see when I was, taking in the artwork.
Do you think there's like a lack of representation for Black stories in art?
Absolutely, and I think that representation is growing, but for sure there needs to be more representation in mainstream media. There's no reason why I should just be following a whole bunch of Black creators on Instagram, and that's the only way I can get Black art. Like it should be,
And students like you are going to definitely change the face of the
I hope so.
So what inspired this piece specifically?
So this piece kind of was just modeled after the idea of kind of being in between like a space of where you love or hate something. It could be a friendship, it could be a relationship, it doesn't have to be, anything too specific, but just the rose is kind of symbolic of that love, and then you kind of getting over it or burning it. And just kind of like letting go of it to relinquish that energy that it has on you. And it's called Love, parenthesis, a thin line, parenthesis, hate. There's supposed to be a thin line between love and hate. But yeah, it's just a piece about empowerment and just kind of, like love and hate, they're very similar. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a lot of emotion behind this piece. Do you listen to any music to like enhance your feelings, making your art? What kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to everything, honestly. The genres, it doesn't matter what genre. I like to listen to music with soul in it, anything that has a real message. I will say I do listen to a lot of Frank Ocean, a lot of like new wave jazz or like new era soul jazz, so stuff like that. That's typically what I like to work in, because it like gets the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, definitely some Frank will always get you started a little bit. So where do you see yourself going after undergrad?
After undergrad, hopefully to a graduate program somewhere, but even beyond school, just out there helping, people find their path when it comes to art. I dance and I sing as well. So just anything creative, like I want to help people find their creative outlet and hone it and hopefully be part of that in some way, shape, or form.
Great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Your artwork is really cool.
Appreciate it.
I got one question. So, your art piece with the symbolism, what do you think it is? What do you think when you think about artistic development? What do you think the love-hate relationship is between art itself?
I like that question a lot. I think oftentimes as artists we're hard on ourselves and we love to do what we do. We like to think that what we're producing is the best work we could possibly create. But sometimes that hate creeps in and we start nitpicking at our own work and doubting our abilities. So I think they kind of play hand in hand often, especially like producing our work and then having it shown in a great event like this. Like, you know, even sitting here, there's things I wish, you know, I could have done differently. But it's about that love for what you're doing. I think that's important for showcasing.
So it can be the balance between good and evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why it catches my eye because when I think about Spike Lee, and there's a scene in there where he's talking about the love and hate relationship, and the Cain versus the Abel. So I think with artistic development, I would say that. Would you say that artists, as you as an artist, do you struggle with that when you're trying to create a message?
I think so, because oftentimes, like for me personally, I feel like the message could be even further. Like I don't want it to be watered down or anything, so I kind of like stress myself out, like how can I push this further? But yeah, I do often try to like do too much, overanalyze. I guess that's where the hate part comes in.
Do you see yourself? Last question. Do you see potentially later down the line? I know you said you do music and singing. Do you see that component? How do you think that component can help you? With your art.
I've always been a person with vision, I feel. So I've always been very sure of how I want to present myself, and I think being an artist only has honed that skill even more. I like design aspects and everything, so I feel like all of that will play a factor, hopefully, in my upcoming career.
Your art show. Today we have with us
Sekou Jackson.
and we're going to be talking about his artwork behind us. Could you tell us what your style of art is?
I mainly do like digital art pieces, so like mainly like just digital. I'm consider I would be more in a surrealism. I like to also do like cartoons, things like that. So caricatures, I guess, but that would be kind of like what I would describe my style.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete this? Outside the actual process, because I had the idea in my head for a minute, so I want to say like 6 months, but the actual process of making it probably took me like 24 hours all together. Okay. Can you explain the meaning behind the artwork you presented today?
Yeah. So how I see it, I seen this in like the dream I had. It was kind of like floating heads, and it was like more like floating heads, but like it wasn't like me. It was in my brother's past. So I kind of like put myself. It was like a self-portrait. I personally, to be honest with you, don't like give my art meaning. I let people. I get the background, I let people kind of figure it out, because I think that's what art should be, you know what I'm saying? It's like what you want it to be. I will say with somebody who's seen it before, they said because it's my locks make the ground grow, and it's darker right here, so it could be seen as bad, but really it's good.
Yeah.
It's like a lighter side, so when they explained it, I was like, that's pretty cool, I like that. But like I said, I don't really give my art meaning.
I know you said a dream inspired this piece of artwork. What usually inspires your artwork in general, other than dreams?
Yeah. Mainly just life and personal experiences, and just my personal outlook and philosophy on life. So I might see something that oh, that'd be cool to mix with this idea, things like that. So it really just it could be anything. But to be honest with you, it doesn't matter.
Do you listen to music while you're creating your artwork? And if so, what kind of music do you listen to?
Yeah, I listen to, it really depends on like my vibe, like, cause I'm either up here or I'm like down here. So like, in terms
What
of
did you listen to while creating this?
when I was listening to this, so I went to high school in like DC, so I listened to someone like a lot of D&B artists and like somebody named Lil Ray, and then like that's where the up high comes because I listen to like songs that get me hyped because when I like create artwork, it's like usually at 2 in the morning, so I kind of listen to music that keeps me up, and it just I don't know why it just gets me really inspired and things like that. So.
Where do you see yourself as an artist after undergrad?
Right now, I personally want to go more into like advertising. I think like I want to be an art director basically, in either the advertising space or any type of like space, like maybe Adult Swim or something. I feel like a lot of black people don't get into advertising, and they should. It's like a really good like career focus, pays really well. But that's where I see it. Not that I also have like a passion for like filmmaking because of my brother. So I would like to go to University of Southern California. That's where he went for like filmmaking in the near future. But after the advertising, because you know I got to pay off my debt. So.
Right.
Hi, I'm Anaya.
All right, what's your major, buddy?
My major is studio arts, visual arts studios.
All right. And what inspired this piece specifically? It's a really big piece, so I'm sure it took a long time to finish. So
Yes, it took the whole semester literally. What inspired me for this piece is pretty much it consists of me, my peace, my tranquility, you know, self-confidence, self-love. It's pretty much what I was focused on.
do you find a lot of peace, like making your art, like it's really tranquil for you, calming?
Yes, whenever I have those like really high anxiety moments or like, you know, life isn't going right, I just pick up canvas and just start walking up there until like something.
And while you're making your art, you listen to like peaceful music, or is it different?
It's always different for each piece. Sometimes when I'm just doing like work, it could be R&B, it can be gospel, it can be like smooth R&B. You know, sometimes it can even be like rap, like trap, you know.
So speaking of music, I could definitely see this as like an album cover. How do you feel about artistry and music coming together to make album covers? And how do you think it affects the overall package of the music?
I think it affects the like music well, like really. So it affects it a lot, honestly. Without an album cover, there's not really like people look at album covers and they say, "Oh, this is nice. Let me pick it up. Let me look at it." You know, "Oh, maybe this is a good album. Let me buy it. Let me listen to it." You know, so it affects the music a lot.
Do you think it helps enhance like the message of the album through
Yes.
the cover art?
Yes.
All right. And at A&T, how has your experience been in the art department?
My experience has been pretty relaxed and chill. A lot of the students are like really open. So if you have any like questions or need any advice, or you just want to talk to somebody, you can just walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, what's up? You know, I got a question." You know, even with the teachers, it's like that.
So there's like a camaraderie among the art students
Yes.
that help each other grow.
Yes, and you don't even have to know them.
Okay,
Just
cool.
walk up to them.
All right. Where do you see yourself going after you graduate?
After I graduate, I plan on expanding my work. Maybe in the future having my own exhibition show. Pretty much, I would like to be a tattoo artist to, you know, expand it into that. Expand my work into like oil painting. I'm an acrylic artist right now. You know, I think I've already mastered a little bit watercolor and color pencils and all that other stuff. So it's like I'm just looking to expand my like horizon in art.
Hi, it's Paige Henderson with Diggin In The Crates Hip Hop Podcast, and today we're at the North Carolina A&T Senior Art Show. Would you start off by telling me your name and what you consider your style of art?
Hi, yes. My name is Justice McCain, and I would consider my art surrealism, a mix of expressionism art.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete this?
This piece specifically took about a week and a half. It was something I had kind of scrambled to get right because I had another smaller piece for this show, but I went ahead and scrapped that because it wasn't meeting my standards. So I went ahead and did the title piece because he inspires me.
Okay. Can you explain the meaning behind the artwork?
Yes. So I titled the artwork "Message from Baudelaire," which is the song Tyler, the Creator, goes by his new album called "Call Me Get Lost." And I just recently went to go see him in concert on March 16th. So I want to do like a piece dedicating my respect for his artistry.
Okay. So he's a music artist.
Yes.
What other things inspire your artwork?
I was going to say music majority. I listen to a lot of alternative R&B along with his work and along with his like clothing line and stuff like that. That really inspires me.
Okay, you kind of answered my next question. That's cool. Besides music, what kind of environment do you like to work in when you're creating art?
Probably just a quiet and peaceful space. I do play a lot of music, but I like to be more so like alone to kind of block out the outside noise. I create.
Where do you see yourself as an artist after undergrad?
I'm hoping to eventually have my own creative like directing company and hopefully displaying like art on a larger level for our community. So hopefully just getting like shows curated on my own, having my own production company.
You answered that. I'm just gonna say that. Has rap culture ever affected your art style?
Yes, definitely. I love Tyler. I love Tinashe. She's not a rapper, but she does alternative R&B. I love 808s. I guess like upbeat music kind of influences like vibrant colors within my work and from the bad mood mentally. That's also displayed in my work.
My name is Brandon Carey. I'm from North Carolina. My major is visual arts and design with a minor in marketing. And if I were to describe my art, it would probably be something of expressionist and then also contemporary art as well.
Okay, yeah, these are definitely expressing a lot of different messages. This one specifically is really powerful. What inspired you to make this piece?
So like during the time in which I did this piece, we were dealing with George Floyd and everything like that. And I was just, definitely feeling a lot of emotion when it came to this piece. Just kind of frustration and anger and what I was just having like a social commentary with the viewer, The thing is, I never understood how could someone be so hateful to a group of people and, definitely like police brutality. My question was, what are you seeing in the moment in which you're pulling this trigger? And so hence why I named it Vulgar Vista. And it's kind of a play on words because a vista is often seen as a pleasant, like narrow view. And as you see that narrow view, you're seeing a black man with like tears in his eyes and just, that fear, that anger, that, in that moment. And so it's kind of like giving them a view into our world of, fighting for this change.
And how did you feel after making this piece? A sense of relief and getting all that anger out?
I definitely did. My thing is, when I created, I didn't want my art to be just about aesthetic. I wanted to actually talk. Like, when you're viewing it, I want to, if you're offended, I'm doing the right thing. I want you to be offended because I want to create a change within this community.
Today we have with us.
I'd say Pearson.
And can you tell us, what would you say is your style of art?
I would say my style of art is comic book artists. I take inspiration from artists like Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Okay, how long did it take you to create these two pieces here?
These took about a week.
Can you explain the meaning behind?
The meaning behind the Spider-Man one is more like, in my sense, more like stress. That's just my everyday, basically, me just like screaming.
Yeah. This one.
This one is more of just having like somebody watching the window.
What things outside of like comics inspire your artwork?
I would say a lot of my stuff is based off like music and how I'm feeling, like social stuff going on in the world.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to heavy like rap and R&B, classic rap, Tupac, Biggie, and as of currently right now, I listen to a lot of Lord drill, like Sleepy Hollow,
Where do you see yourself as an artist after undergrad?
I would say I see myself working for Marvel or Disney.
Okay.
My name is Roger Vasquez. My major is visual media design, and I would say I don't really have a art style. I feel like I gravitate to all kinds of art, but like for this one, this is like abstract.
Do you think you just like to, whatever, what's your favorite medium to create art?
My favorite medium would probably be
All right, and how long did it take to create this piece of work?
This piece took about 3 days, so that's like 72 hours.
So how did you choose all these different color prompts? Like what inspired this combination?
I think it was pretty much my mood. Like I started out with the yellow background, and then like I just like whatever I felt like from there, I just put it my hand and work.
So what things inspire your artwork? Is it just like the feelings?
Yeah, I'd say it's my mood, the music I'm listening to, like pretty much my mood and whatever I'm listening to.
Okay, so who are some of your favorite artists to listen to as you're creating?
This rapper called No Cap.
No Cap.
Yeah.
Is he the only one you listen to? Anyone else?
No, I listen to a lot of different people say, but like he's probably like the one that.
So he's a rapper. This is a rap podcast. So how do you think rap culture influences art history?
History. I feel like it's a big part of it because like when you drop like a vibe song, like you gotta have like some vibe artwork with it, like everybody. Like I feel like the artwork game, like when it comes to that, it's like and then level that because like with the culture.
Yeah, rap culture like elevated what it means to have like really attractive cover art.
Yeah, like I didn't say like 3D and 3D animated color and all types of stuff like that. You know, they never got into it music.
Do you think you can see yourself one day creating some album cover art?
For sure, I already did.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually he's a local DC artist where I'm from DC. His name is Moviosa, and then I also created artwork for this group called like Greensboro 84.
That's really cool. Where do you see yourself going after graduation? You've already done some album cover artwork. You have some artwork.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue perfecting my craft. I also do tattoos, so I'll probably start opening up a shop or something.
Hi, it's Paige Henderson with Diggin In The Crates podcast, and today we have
Stephen Combs.
And what would you say is your style of art?
I would like to say mostly graphic design, spray paint, and visual, basically representation of things.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete this piece?
It took several hours over a course of I think 2 days. Yeah.
Can you explain the meaning behind?
Basically, it doesn't necessarily have a direct meaning, but more of like figurative from how I was feeling at the time. Basically, I had pretty clean mindset when I was on spraying, so I just decided to focus on those feelings and basically display it the best way I could.
Okay. What things inspire your artwork?
I would like to say mostly common thoughts, just basically what's on my mind at the time. Maybe, a little bit of music here and now, depending on what I'm listening to.
Okay. What kind of music do you listen to when you're creating art?
I listen to a variety of music. I listen to soul, hip hop, jazz, rock sometimes. It varies.
Okay. Are you interested in like album cover art? And
oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that adds to the music, the album cover art? Do you think it adds to the music of the album, or?
Oh, definitely. Especially depending on the artist or graphic designer who was behind the cover. I feel like that plays a lot into the meaning of the person's music as well.
Do you have any favorite album cover art?
Oh man, where can I start? I like a good bit of Earth Gangs, if you're familiar with their album cover art. They have a lot of different, I guess, psychedelic kind of funk, but mixed with hip hop type of feel to their covers.
Where do you see yourself as an artist after undergrad?
I would like to be on a creative design team, wherever I can get in. It could be here, it could be out. It doesn't really matter.
My name is Spirit Johnson. My major is visual art and design, and my style is surrealism.
So this is definitely getting surreal. So what inspired this piece specifically?
I really focus my art on my mental health, and I think this is an accurate depiction of how I was feeling during this year, since I'm graduating and then preparing for my first art show. So yeah, definitely mental health.
Were you listening to any music specifically when making this? Do you like to listen to music while you create?
I think I was listening, I'm an eclectic, so I listen to all types of music, but I think on this particular day what I was making I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald. A lot of the 60s, like doo-wops. I love that. But I always go in and out with my music choices. I definitely listen to the old ones.
What are some of your favorite mediums for your art? Because this one is definitely kind of unique in the way that you put it together.
This was paint. I usually work in paint because it's not messy, but I want to come out the box and focus on something bigger.
What has your journey as an artist been? Like, how did you get into artistry, and how has coming to A&T and participating in the art department helped you grow and develop?
Art is something I've always done. And then as soon as I went to high school and I took my first secondary art class, and I was in the challenge, but I was enjoying the challenge. And my art teacher, I remember her name was Schaefer. She really pushed me to want to get into this. And then originally I was an animal science major when I came here, and I realized that I wasn't passionate about it. And as soon as I started taking all these art classes, I was like, this is what I was meant to do. I just kept learning all these different new ones, and I was like, yeah.
Do you feel like you're most in your element when you're creating? So where do you think that you're going to go after graduation? What are some of your biggest dreams and aspirations?
Definitely be a fine artist. After I graduate, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. So I'm definitely going to be dabbling in the style, but the canvas will be skin. But either way, I'm going to have fun. And yeah, I'm definitely going to dabble into digital art as well. But yeah, that's all.
Do you think digital art is making like a huge splash in art right now?
It's really a big splash, really, and I think people are starting to branch out to people who aren't, in the industry, and they're allowing artists like ourselves to,
It's more accessible.
Yeah, like Target and Walmart, they're doing big things. I like it.
So today we're at the North Carolina A&T Senior Art Show. Today I have with me and what would you say is your style of art?
Surrealism.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Surrealism is basically, I like to be realistic, but I also like a bit of abstract, a bit of what I see in my own head. So I do what I think should be there, also what I see, and realistically how it was really shaded.
How long did it take you to complete this piece?
I started
can you explain the meaning behind this artwork?
That is actually for prosperity, to protect your home. So it's like a statue piece. Basically, have food objects getting in the front of your house to scare away the bad vibes and spirits and stuff like that.
I thought that was
Yeah. It's actually Japanese.
Okay. What other things inspire your artwork?
Just like what I see online, more like post social media, because that does help me be inspired. And, I'm inspired by just, I guess, whatever intrigues me. I don't really know what to say. But I do like Japanese stuff. Like I said, other surrealism things that I can relate to. I'm not close-minded. I like everything, really.
What kind of environment do you like to create your artwork in, and is music involved in that?
I like that question. I like to clean. I like to make sure I'm in a clean room. I don't really like to do it in a dirty room. Music, sometimes music helps, sometimes I just need the keys. So it just depends. Sometimes I want to listen to trap music, sometimes I'm not on that type of time.
Yeah, I understand. Where do you see yourself as an artist after undergrad?
I see myself moving. I see myself tattooing. I see myself possibly being a...
Okay, we're here at the African American Atelier. We just got through looking at several pieces of artwork that was done by visual and performing arts students here at North Carolina A&T. I'm here with a special guest, a long time coming. Dr. Hooker, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I've been knowing you for several years and your artwork, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how, what capacity you serve here at North Carolina A&T?
Well, first of all, I think we're just cousins.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, I've been here for about 24 years.
Okay.
And my main goal was to come here and help develop the program. And when I first got to Greensboro, the News and Records interviewed me, and they asked, Hooker, what do you really want to do with this program? And my thing was to change the curriculum, but yet and still, when it came to studio art, give the students creative freedom. And when you look at the different types of artwork that's in this gallery, very diverse. And my thing has always been, let these students deal with what's happening in their urban community. When I first got here, I'll never forget, the students wanted to do a show in commemoration of Tupac and Biggie. And I'm like, should we do that? And it turned out to be beautiful. One side of the gallery was paying homage to Tupac, the other side was paying homage to Biggie. The point I'm trying to make is that when these kids find that subject matter, they dive right into it. They motivate it, okay? And I teach my class a little different from some of the other professors, whereas I let the kids do research on certain subjects. And then after that, I teach technique.
Okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned, because even our podcast, does, focus on the art. But again, I think there's a huge connection between art and music. So, I want to take you a little bit back here. So when you think about art and you think about records and vinyl start to come back. So what is it that you think that when you look at an album cover, how does it tell the story of an album? What is an album that you probably said, you looked at the cover first and you just said, well, I'm going to go ahead and listen to it. Any artists out there?
Well, I teach a course of African American art history, and then I think about, for example, Ernie Bond's work and how Marvin Gaye utilized some of his work in Inner City Blues, elongated type figures, the figures that symbolize what was happening in the black urban community back in the 70s, 60s and 70s, But again, as an art professor, I always have to look at the demographics and the type of people that I'm working with. And these are young, black, upcoming artists, man, And again, their work gets back to what's happening in their community, okay?
And it makes you think about, good times, those type of Fred Sanford, those type of shows. But it's interesting, growing up, I always watched the Cosby Show. So in your bios, I know you had some, paintings that were on the Cosby Show, and I think maybe Oprah will. So how did that, how did that come about? And how long have you been doing art? And my last question is, what is it about art that intrigued you as growing up as a kid?
Well, getting back to the celebrities, back in 1992, I was teaching at Dillon University, and I was head of the art department there. And never forget, the local television station there, WWL, they came out on campus because we had like an arts festival there, and they saw my work, and then somebody from the local CBS affiliate, NBC affiliate, they got in touch with NBC in New York, and they told them about my work. About a week later, I get a call, and the secretary said, Mr. Cosby's on the phone. I'm like, what? So I'm running to the phone like, you Willie Hooker? I said, yeah, Right. So after that, the rest is history. They invited my family and I to come to Astoria, New York for a taping. Fast forwarded, I think that was like 2000, I sent some work to D.L. Hughley, and he was very impressed with my mixed media Afrocentric work. He invited about 10 art majors from A&T, and my family flew to Hollywood, and they used my work on the Hughley show. And I never forget that night out in Hollywood, he asked me to stand up and talk about A&T art department, and Tyra Banks was standing by my work that night, so that was a big night for me. Another celebrity was Tyler Perry. My work was used on Meet the Browns as a background piece. Out of all the celebrities that had my work, Oprah, I went to school with Oprah, but again, it took her almost 3 months to just send me a letter acknowledging that she had my work. I tell everybody, doing work for celebrities can be pretty hard and rough because they're very cheap. Not the first celebrity paid me, but the friends and benefits of that is like, hey, Oprah, can you do this painting you had for Cosby or the one you did for Tyler Perry, So in the long run, it paid off,
Dang, so you was talking about, giving students sort of creative control. That's one of the things that I think that works for us at our podcast is that I have such a group here. They've been magnificent in, organizing and putting things out. It even taught me a little bit more. So how does that work for you where the students teach you, the students learn from you and you learn from the students?
Oh, it's a give and take. It's a very give and take because at the end of the day, I'm always learning, and I learn from my students. When I got my doctorate degree, I never forget, back in 1977, my mom told me, try to learn something new every day. And I could be working on a piece, and the student might say, hey, doc, maybe you need to use a little white there, maybe you need to use a little magenta, So again, we learn off one another, bounce off one another, And that's part of the educational process, okay?
Yeah, and I think that's important. So what do you guys got coming up? I know you got this wonderful show coming up, but what's going on the rest of the week that the students and the community need to know about here at the Artillery?
Well, we have this main show here, then we have sort of an overflow of some of the students' work, got about 40 pieces that they're gonna hang tomorrow morning. And that will be on the bottom lower floor of Dudley Fine Arts Building. We had a total of 105 pieces, and that was a lot. Let me just throw something in right quick before we run out of time. Professor Roy Carter and myself, we are part of the National Alliance of Black Artists, and we have been selected along with about 17 other African American art professors from different HBCUs to have our work on display in China. And yes, the work will be going to Beijing, Wuhan, and Shanghai. And Roy Carter and myself will be representing A&T this summer. We just had a show over in India last year. Carter and myself was part of this. As a matter of fact, they're going to use Roy Carter's work to advertise the show in China. And one of the plug too, Professor Hooker, my upcoming book will be coming out this coming fall. The title of my book is called The Evolution of African American Culture and Fine Art. This has been an ongoing research project really ever since I came to A&T. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, we want to thank you for letting Diggin In The Crates cover this event. We want to continue to strive and promote the local community. You can check us on Facebook, you can check us on Instagram. We like to do these type of events. I work on campus as well, but what we saw today is great pieces of amazing work. Got a chance to talk to some of your students about their artwork. I think the one over there I was very impressed with.
Miss Matt's work.
Yeah, and the young man in animation. I'm always enthused when I see students doing this type of work. So, any last words?
Yeah, and one footnote about all this. I tell students this all the time. I'll be 70 years old in November, and I've been teaching over 42 years. And out of my 40-something plus years of teaching, this has been one of the best exhibitions, student exhibitions I put.
All right, we're here at the African American Atelier downtown Greensboro, covering the art show for North Carolina A&T Art Department, and we have a special guest here, and we would like for you to introduce yourself and where you're from and things like that. And we're delighted that you guys that invited our podcast down here to cover such a great event. So if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Ramiko Carter. I'm director of the Visual Arts Program at North Carolina A&T State University. I was former director of the University Galleries, right. And so I had a lot of relationships with other galleries that were in the community. And so now that I'm primarily just in the art program directing that, it was great because I was able to reach out to the African American Atelier and ask them if they could host the senior show for this year here. And this is a particularly, interesting year. I want to say difficult, but I'll say interesting.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting year because we're coming back off of something and we had no idea what we were coming back to. We didn't know how the students were going to be reacting. We didn't know what they were feeling. So when we came back in the fall, we were sort of forecasting what we were going to need to do for the spring. And, a large part of being a director, you don't know everything that you're trying to do is going to work. So you project, and luckily had a lot of support from the faculty, the students, and our administration. And we were able to come back, and our students have put together what I feel like is a very strong body of work. It does not feel like we have been away a year and a half, and then first time we're back together. This has been
Yeah,
exciting.
it's even for me. When COVID first hit, I've been doing my podcast since 18. Everything halted, so the interns, had to do stuff virtually. Again, we didn't know what was going to happen when we came back, but I think one of the things that maybe we can touch on this, did you find out students were more creative because of the pandemic, in terms of when they started, you guys got back together? I think it maybe gave them time to reflect. And in your own work, did that have an impact on you in your own work?
Wow, that's a good. That's big. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know that it made them more creative. What it actually did was it made them grateful. I think it made all of us grateful. I didn't know how important it was to spend time with my colleagues. I didn't know, being at home. You always say when you're with everybody all day, man, I wish I had some time off. I wish I had a minute that I could get a break. And then when you get something more than a minute, you're like, oh, I need to be back with my people. I need to be back in that space. And so I think for the students, what I'm hearing in the classroom and what I'm hearing in the program is I'm hearing a lot of, now don't get me wrong, they're very resilient. They pioneered, like stuff that we thought we weren't going to be able to do online. We proved that we could do. Some of my faculty that if I would have asked them at any point, can you teach this class online? They would have been like, absolutely not, no. But then when we were forced to, the faculty stepped up, but the students, they didn't. I think they're very excited to be back in the classroom. I think they're excited to be back working with the faculty. They're excited to be back with one another. And, but I don't think it made them more creative, but I do believe that it made them appreciate the time that we spend in the room together. And as far as my own work, that separation has brought me closer to a lot of my art colleagues on the East Coast, and we get a group of artists. We get together. We call it Chop Shop. It was something created by a gentleman by the name of Steve Kozart. He's at Weaver, at one of the high schools, Weaver Academy, and we started all getting together once a month. A group of artists from Florida up through Philadelphia, New York actually, and a group of artists. We all started to get together and share and talk, and that started due to COVID. But then we realized that impacted all of our work, and so it's been fantastic.
And one of the focuses that sort of art reminds me of music. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And for me, I've got a huge vinyl collection, and I look at when I go shopping. I spend 2-3 hours, and I find myself looking at the album covers, and the album covers says a lot. I'll take my phone out and say, let me listen to this. And I found out like Johnny Guitar Watson, Donna Summers, and so if you can go back to maybe your childhood, when the albums came out, was there anything artistic that captured you that you can think about that, hey, I know this, I'm looking at the artwork and I say this, now we ain't talking about the music yet, but you're just like, this is probably a hit.
Yeah. I remember distinctly looking at Parliament, the underwater motor boogie affair. I think it was what it was called. It was one of Parliament's albums where the whole thing was an underwater circus. Okay. And it was a double LP thing, and it was white. And when you saw it, it was everybody, all these aquatic black bodies were getting onto a ship. And when you opened it up, it had a pop-up.
Oh, wow.
And it was an underwater circus, people like doing all this kind of stuff going on the thing. And I remember I would put that album on and I would lay on the floor and I would just look at the artwork. Because when you laid the album out, the pop-up, it had, the whole thing. It was a whole thing. And when you pull out the sleeves had artwork on it, and it had told stories and had all the different characters, because all of Parliament, everybody played a different character. Yeah. And so I remember Mr. Wiggles and Star Child and all these guys.
Taking it back.
Oh my God! But that's where I was, and that artwork that I saw and loved, because I'm a country kid from Virginia. There weren't galleries there, right? Yeah. So that was my gallery. That was so the album was that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at all these art pieces here. Does shows like this, do you think it's a more deeper connection when you have these art shows as opposed to stuff being online? What is I heard you say the word appreciation. Do you think there's a room for that to come back when people go to art galleries and art shows? Especially, the reason why I say especially for kids in kindergarten, middle school, because I did a talk at the Greensboro Historical Museum about sculpture. Most kids say, oh, it's just a sculpture, that's it. So I would like for you to touch on a little bit, where do you see that? Do you see this coming back, or do you see more people doing sort of like a gallery on Zoom?
Let me contextualize something first. I remember my uncle, he gave me $1 one time. And he said, hey, I can give you $1 or I can give you these 100 pennies. As a kid, I took the 100 pennies. And he's like, why do you want the $1? He's like, these are more fun. You give me 100 pennies, I can do a lot. I can be playing with those, roll around, I can throw them, spin them. I can do a lot of stuff with that $1, although they had the same value, which I don't question the value, but the materiality, the weight, there was, that bag of them, I remember putting them in, I remember taking all those pennies in my hand, 100 pennies, and putting them in a plastic bag. I asked my grandma for a plastic bag, and just the weight of the bag and sloshing it around and jingling it. She was like, boy, give me the pennies, stop. Like, and I was just annoying with them. They were just so fun. But that dollar didn't have it, right? So the thing is that I don't argue the value of seeing things on Instagram or seeing things on people's websites or online, but there's a different life to it that when you see it physically in a space and you're able to stand 3 feet, 6 feet from it, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that. A lot of people don't realize how the size of the Mona Lisa. They think about the Mona Lisa, they know the Mona Lisa is a painting, they've seen it on t-shirts, they've seen it on mugs, and they think they know it. But when they go to the museum and they actually see the Mona Lisa, they're like, shit, itty bitty thing. Yeah. Like, what? I saw it in a book, I thought it was a big old painting. No, she's not a big painting. But when they see it, they have a totally different appreciation, different feel for it when they see it physically. And that's why we want to encourage people to come out to the galleries, to spend time with the work, to experience it physically, and it'll give you a different feedback.
And I've known you for several years. You know, if you could think about a student that did a painting that, you know, where do you think that student is now? If you know, pick over the last several years, you had a student who know that they got it, they understand it, and they apply it. Was there anything that drew you to that particular student?
Yeah, there's several, but as an example of one of our students, a young man, he was, you know, being on A&T's campus, there's a zillion, he was a go-getter, he was always in activities and stuff, and I met him, he took my class, and I remember talking to him, and he was so distracted. And I said, sir, I said, you're learning a skill, and I need you here, I need you to be present, I need you to learn to be present. And I know, Carl, I got SGA, I got this, I got that. He was like, you know, I think he was president of Alphas. He had a million and one things going on, social activities. I said, but I realize you wear a lot of hats and you're a lot of different things. But I said, I remember the gentleman's name is Matt Duncan. And I said, Matt, you're a designer. And I need you to spend some time appreciating design. And he heard me. And he says, what does that mean? What do I need? Like, what am I missing out of that? So he, just being present in class and really giving me as much as he was giving to the fraternity, as much as he was giving to the university. I said, give to yourself, give that, grow, right? Young man went to grad school, graduated from Elon, from their interactive media program, got his master's, then went to DC, worked for NASA, doing graphic visualization for them. Left there, went to BET, was working at BET.
Wow.
He's doing great, and I mean, there's so many students gone on work for WNBA. A student called me the other day. He's working for Netflix. You know, it's something that people call it mentoring. They call it teaching. They call it a lot of different things, but in teaching students to you know, grow as professionals, you know, get to do those things that they didn't think they could do. They didn't know how to get there. But then you show them the roadmap. You start putting the pins in the board for them, and you need to know this so that you can get that, so that you can go here. And they start doing it. When they take off, don't stop it.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, you just gave me a valuable dollar, a thing of pennies. Pennies have weight to it. You can do more to it. The dollar just, you know, and it was those things growing up as a kid that my grandmother would say, you know, tell me, grandson, don't bite out more than you. And I mean, you know, wearing many hats. Again, as a kid, I grew up, you know, listening to James Brown and things like that, supposed to sleep. But my grandmother always told me that you put your right foot before your left foot, you take steps, things will happen. And it's, you know, coming back as a, you know, graduate of A&T, you know, I've done 1 or 2 exhibits at the other gallery, and I think that has molded me. And so, you know, having a mentor like Dr. Diggin, and then now seeing students, you know, doing this work. And so, you know, tell us why, you know, as we close out, you know, why people should, you know, what can students do, you know, with art degree? You just gave some great examples. And the reason why I mention that is because art is not, when people say, oh, I got an art degree, it's kind of, you know, but when you look at what we have here, so, you know, why would you encourage someone who wants to be an artist? What would you say to them and say, hey, this can be done?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that art plays a role in educating. It plays a role in creating patterns of behavior. It plays a role in promoting and celebrating. It plays a role in establishing groups and social patterns. So for people who want to help people facilitate their lives, that's really what art's about. None of us ever opened a K-12 book without experiencing art. All of that had to be created by somebody. Somebody had to organize the information with other professionals. And in art, although it's a very isolated, when you're in the studio and you're creating, it's a very isolated experience. But then when you realize that I have to work with a lot of people to actually get this done. You have to work with the curators, you have to work with the gallery. We would not be able to have this space if we weren't able to work with other people. You can create all the work you want, but you've got to work with other people to get this work out and get it to other people so other people can share it with you. So this ability for art to collaborate and experience and express, and if a doctor wants to explain, you know, I think about going to my dentist, and they were explaining, you know, oh, we're gonna have to do this back here, and one of your back. I can't see in my mouth, so I can't, you know, my eyes out here, not in my mouth, so I can't see what we're talking about. They reached over to the table, and they clicked up a model. They opened the model. And they said, see right here? This right here, this tooth, we're gonna have to do this, this, this. And I realized, I was like, somebody had to sit there and sculpt that and make that so that they could have a model to reference, to ease the mind. It calmed my anxiety when they're telling me and showing me this is exactly what we're gonna do. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, because when they were saying it first, I was like, I don't know about this. I think I'm gonna live with this pain. Give me some word gel, I'm gonna be all right. But then, once they were able to show me, I said, oh, okay, that's what we're doing? Great, let's get it. And so an artist, although they're invisible at that time, they help on so many levels.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's invisible art form. I watch shows like Good Times and things, and I'm saying, you know, Basquiat, and I always wonder these rap artists mention Basquiat and others. You know what I'm saying? I actually watched a little documentary, and I was amazed because I'm not an artist, but you know, I know when I see, you know, good art. My dad, he collects art. My brother, my grandfather, he's been collecting art for several years, and it's just intriguing to see art, you know, takes a shape. And I think it's healing, it's emotional support, and I think that it takes it doesn't necessarily take it. I just think that the creativity that once had, like doing the Harlem Renaissance, you know, for me, it was just an amazing period of, you got the boys that says, okay, let's paint the happier side. You got others who are saying, no, let's paint things as it is. And I'm more on the side of painting things as it is. And so I think that's just so important.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I got a pitch for it. We'll put a pitch on the end of our session. Sure. We should do another episode on why we need people to collect. Because you touched on something beautiful there about being able to access or find work that you like. Because people go, I can't collect art. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do that. It's not that. It's affordable art. It's not about buying something that's going to be worth $25 million down the road. It's about buying something that you can hang in your home that will bring you joy. And if you went out and you spent $25 on it and you like it, and that's the painting that you wanted, that's your painting. Right. And you keep it, and you pass it along in your family, or you get to know the story of the artist who made it. You might have something related or in common. That is what we need. So there's another whole show there. Why we need to promote.
Just to add on to that, I went to Virginia they had the bobblehead of they had Shaquille O'Neal, they had Penny Hardaway. And one of the students said, Mr. White, I said, this is A&T, it's still in the box. Because I knew my mom, one room upstairs is just all the Lakers. And I finished the story here, so I took it and gave her the ball. So there was an auction here about, I want to say about 8 years ago. My dad came, my mom came, and they had this, whoever had Kobe Bryant's rookie jersey, they had the number 8 on there. And I'm trying to bid, and so I'm like, nah, I don't got enough money. So I stopped bidding, right? And after it was over with, the amount that someone paid for it, my dad comes up to me and said, well, son, why didn't you keep going? I said, well, I didn't have the money, so when we found out that it was actually authentic, my mom got all upset. She was like, you know, we could have got it. So, and my point is, to your point, is why we think it's just a shirt. It was monumental, and we, you know, I kick myself, you know, the butt, because we've got stuff from Magic Johnson and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that'd be a very good topic. Is, you know, I collect military memorabilia, and this lady had this big old box. And I said, "Ma'am, do not put that away." so yeah, we can. But we want to thank you again, Dr. Carter. It's always such a pleasure. Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think makes A&T art students special? Like, I'm sure really proud this is like a solid collection from them. So, what do you think makes them special enough to like have such a nice exhibition?
There's a building of confidence that happens over the years. What happens a lot of times is that they don't get celebrated as artists early in life. A lot of them stick to it in spite of, because everybody has the image of a starving artist in their mind. Like, oh, you're not going to be able to do anything with that. You're not going to be able. And so something in them keeps them working through that. And then when they have that display of confidence to come to college and go, what's going to be your major? I'm a major in art. And they're like, really? And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And so when I get that, they're already committed to something. They're already said, I know I had options. There was other things that I was supposed to do. Sometimes I have to talk to parents. I had a mother that called me. She says she got into Johns Hopkins Medical School, and she wants to come and make art with you. How can we do that? And I said, ma'am, I said, let me have her for the first 4 years as her undergrad, and let me help her develop as an artist. And then we're gonna send her to Johns Hopkins, and I want her to major in medical illustration. Mom said, what? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, she learns the art side here, and then we're gonna send her to Johns Hopkins, because if they were gonna accept her out of high school, they will really like her after we get through with her at A&T. And then the young lady graduated, went on to Johns Hopkins, doing medical illustration. And the idea of before coming out of high school, they didn't know that was even an option. But when we were able to take that creative aesthetic ability that they had and then show them all of the other opportunities that are out there in the world, that's why they do it. And they do it with such energy and such passion, is because we've shown them that this is a worthwhile endeavor. This isn't, all that negativity and all that insecurity that you brought in, we try to shake that off over 4 years and give them the confidence to walk with their head up and know where they're headed. And so that's what we were talking about before.
Yeah, that's important. I see myself as an educator, as a mentor as well when it comes to history. I'm not here to make your history, but when the light bulb turns on, I'm like, oh, okay, Mr. I had a student this semester. She just worried, but when she wrote her paper with Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington, she nailed it on the head, nailed it. And I said, well, the work that you've done, I just, because she kept saying, well, I feel like Booker T. Washington is bad. I said, well, why though?
Yeah.
Why is he bad? But then when she started figuring out all the stuff she did, well, he's their best. Yeah, it's just his philosophy. Now, the boys have a different philosophy, but again, it's all historical. Thanks again, Dr. Carter. This won't be the last time. I know we talked about it, before when I first started doing this podcast. So come check out the art show down here at the African Artillery. And this is the Hip Hop Wizard, Digging in the Crates Hip Hop Podcast. I'm here with Dr. Will Carter, and we're going to sign out.